Welcome to Feeling Asian, a podcast where two Asians talk about their feelings. I'm Young Mi Mayer.
And I'm Brian Park. And holy cow, Young Mi. You know, it's become a running joke at this point. First of all, we did it. Listeners, we did it. Second of all, every week, it seems to be a growing trend where we introduce our guest of the week as the most famous Asian person we've had on the podcast.
Yes.
But this time, we really mean it.
We mean it.
We always mean it, but this time we also mean it. This week's guest is the most famous Asian person we've had on this podcast thus far.
The most famous Asian comedian in the world. And that's not even I feel like that's not even an exaggeration.
Not even.
Yeah.
But the listeners, they know how to read. We trust our listeners' reading comprehension skills. They saw the title. I think we should just go ahead and introduce our wonderful guest this week, Young Mi.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Listeners, you're in for a treat. Our guest this week is, he's an incredibly talented comedian, but you also may know him from his popular YouTube channel, where he plays a character named Uncle Roger. Everyone, please give your ears to Nigel Ng.
Hey, hi guys. Thanks for having me. And what an intro. I don't know what to say.
Wow.
Don't let the numbers on social media fool you, you know? I would that is just a big number. It doesn't mean I'm the most famous. I think I'll put Ronnie Cheng in that spot. I'll put Ronnie Cheng in there.
Ronnie Cheng. Yeah, that's
Ronnie.
I feel like you're being humble. I feel like the only thing that matters now in 2022 is the people that follow you on social media.
Yeah.
There's nothing else.
What? Yeah, that's the only numbers, baby. Numbers don't lie.
Numbers, baby.
Wait,
Showbiz.
did I say your last name correctly? I forgot to ask before we started recording.
What did you say? Nigel Ng?
I said Nigel Ng.
Yeah, I think that's the American way to say it. Yeah.
Oh.
I would say Nigel Ng back home.
Nigel Ng.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Oh.
Apologies.
No, Ng is fine. Ng is fine. It's all fucked anyway. Like, there are no vowels in there. It's kind of my fault, really. You know.
Well, no, that the pronunciation makes sense on how it's spelled. But, I love it when Brian subverts Asian stereotypes like this. Asians can also mispronounce Asian words.
Yeah.
Just showing you that we are full human beings and we make mistakes.
But unless it's
ourselves.
a white person who does it, then you bet your ass we're going to call you out on Twitter and do our best to drag you down.
Canceled. If Brian was white, he would have no career after today. Let that be a lesson.
You know
Yeah.
what?
Racism is so rampant in Asia, man. People don't even know. People think white guys are the best at it. Like, no, go to Asia. We are the best. We hate on other Asians, right? Like
Nigel,
Wong
don't
has a
tell
big
them
fit-
that.
Don't tell
Nigel?
them that. No, we can't. We can't let them know.
Sorry.
We can't let them know.
That's so funny that all this stuff is coming out right now, because I feel like this is what the episode's gonna be about. As people know, I'm sure that you did grow up in Malaysia, and you're this Asian person from Asia, and there's a lot of discourse between the diaspora, between Asian people that grew up in the West or other places. And I'm really excited to get into all of that with you, because I feel like, you're someone that's experienced both of those things. But before we get into this conversation, Nigel, Brian, I have to ask you, how are you feeling?
Oh, wow. I zoned out there for a second. I wasn't even. We usually ask you first, but
you were
yeah.
disassociating because Nigel said that Asians are the best at racism, and you were just spiraled. You went somewhere.
Oh my God, I'm the problem. How am I feeling? Let's see here. I'm okay. To be quite honest, I've been feeling a bit sad lately.
Oh no.
Seasonal affective disorder, very real. When I was younger, I didn't give a shit about the weather, but here in New York this past week, I haven't seen any bit of sunshine, and it's really thrown me in for a loop, And this morning when I woke up and opened my curtains and saw how gloomy it was, just oh fuck my life, I need sun. So yeah, I'm just feeling a bit tired and a bit gloomy. It's been a busy week in terms of that's the thing though, is we're creatives, and so our work is so it should be fun, but it's also, I don't know. I go like back and I teeter back and forth. Like I had a bunch of acting auditions, and on paper it's fun. It doesn't require that much work. Like what, an audition, you're just filming that's like an hour. But leading up to it, I put myself through so much mental stress and just put so much mental energy into it. And in conjunction with the lack of sunshine, I'm just feeling quite exhausted and quite gloomy. But I'm glad I'm here. This is going to be a fun conversation. Usually when I do this podcast, whatever like state I'm in outside of it, it sort of like dissipates, because this is like, I'm focused right now. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm focused on the task at hand. But otherwise, that's how I'm feeling. Not my best, but happy to be here.
Dude, auditions are so fucking scary. I'm like, I feel like the reason why a lot of people, I feel like, dream about being an actor or something, but the reason that they don't follow through is because of the idea of doing an audition. And I feel like you really, I know it's like just an hour or whatever, but I feel like you should really give yourself space to be like, that was fucking hard and horrible, you know?
When you say audition, do you mean self-tapes?
Yes, self-tapes, which is even more harrowing.
Those are the worst. They're the worst. You gotta get a friend to come over to say the lines to you, and you feel bad. Right? You take out that whole afternoon.
Oh, even this one. For this one, all my friends were busy, so I had to do it over Zoom. So I was acting to a MacBook that was like propped up like 8 books. It's so sad.
That sounds like the worst.
Oh my gosh, yeah. But
I'm so sorry.
The glamorous life of actors, you know. It's not all Oscars and Will Smith slaps. There's a dark undercurrent to it that is just as mentally taxing. But yeah, you know, that's how I'm feeling. How about you, Youngmi? How are you feeling?
Oh my God, I have like such a funny story, and I kind of wanted to share it. But I guess it's like, okay, it's tied to how I'm feeling, because I don't know what's going on in New York City. I know that New York City has like always been a place full of very aggressive people. And if you live here, you know that whenever you go outside, you're going to get in the chances are you're going to get in like some sort of like argument with somebody, you know, whether it's somebody telling you to fuck off or whatever, right? It's like you always have to be like on edge, because at any moment someone could be like, I fucked your mother, and you're like, who the fuck are you? Like, for like cutting them in line. I'm like, I didn't even see the lines. I'm sorry. You know, like shit like that always happens here.
Right.
And it's interesting because, you know, I have a son. He's 8 years old, and he was born and raised here. And it does not bother him in the way that it bothers me when somebody like yells at him. He's just like I remember I had this joke where we got out of a taxi, and somebody was beeping their horn because the taxi was stopped. And like he started screaming at them. He was like, yeah, you're a real New Yorker bitch, huh? Like he screamed that.
Your son said that?
Mino, the fucking 8-year-old, screamed that at the car. And I was like, oh my. Like when I was 8, I would have shit my pants if an adult talked to me in a mean tone. Do you know what I mean? I would like cry. I would like go home and it would devastate me. But Mino's just like, fuck off, what? Like that. So I had this funny story. Like we went out because he wanted to go to the Lego store, and it was like everything that happened was so fucking intense. I was like, I fucking hate New York City. Everyone is so aggressive here. Right. So he wanted to go to the Lego store because he saw somebody on YouTube build a real gun out of Legos, and he thought this is already I know. So he thought that they sold a kit for a real gun at the Lego store. So he was like, we gotta go to the Lego store. But he didn't tell me that. He just kept being like, let's go to the Lego store. And I was like, okay, let's go.
All right.
And so then
I like that. He's scamming, bearing the lead. he knows how to negotiate.
He's just like looking like high and low, like he's getting on all fours, like looking for this gun kit. And I'm like, what are you looking for? He's like, a gun. And I was like, they don't have guns here, bro. Come on. And then he like made me ask the Lego store person. He was like, no, just ask them. So I was like, do you have this here? And the Lego store person looked at me like I was a fucking psycho. Like he was like, we don't support the military. He said something like that. And I was like,
wow.
Bro, come on. I'm just asking you for my son.
Yeah.
And then And then I'm just trying to make this story really fast. And then we went to go have dinner at Kazunori, Brian, your favorite place.
Oh yeah, great
Where
Japanese
you-
hand
yeah.
rolls, my favorite.
And it's like this, Nigel, it's like this really busy like sushi restaurant. There's always like a line out the door. And it's kind of like the clientele there is like always like these like finance bros. And it's always really busy.
Yeah.
And so we get in line and then there's like these two like finance bros. And they're like very obviously high on cocaine. And they're just like bouncing around, right? And then they bounce into Mino and then he starts yelling at Mino. And then I got in a fight with this adult.
What?
And like in the middle of it, he's like being like, well, you're a bad mom and you have pink hair. Like he's just throwing shit out of his ass.
Oh wow, okay.
And so I was like, I can't do this right now. So I just like leaned in and I was like, hey, you guys, you're both like super high on cocaine. And it's like really obvious to the whole restaurant. And then they both just like immediately stopped talking to me and like turned around and tried to act normal. And that was a day in the life of living in New York City with a child. Like that's too much. Right?
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot. Mino is what you said.
every
Mino's
day.
8. Mino's technically
yeah.
in, like dog year equivalent. Or like he's like 40 at this point because he's just seen too much.
He's seen too much.
Yeah.
That's
Guns and
wild.
cocaine. Wow.
Yeah.
That's.
He's looking for a gun at the Lego store. What's going on here?
I think children like guns, right? I played with guns growing up.
Oh yeah.
So
Kids
I think
love
there's-
guns.
Nerf
Yeah,
guns were the
kids love
thing.
guns.
They were the jam. Kids love guns.
Yeah.
There's just
he
something
re-
about guns that captures our imagination, you know?
But also
Yeah, him
weird
and
of the
his friends
Lego
like
person
guns.
to make it into a political thing when you just simply ask
got
for
real
a Lego
political.
gun. I don't support the military. Now please leave this establishment before I call Child Protective Services.
So here, well, I've talked about this before. Mino has interests that are different than mine. I don't like guns, obviously. I don't like the military or the Titanic. Those are his top 3 interests. But he's my son, and I like, like I want him to like explore his like, his personality, like find out who he
yeah,
is
of course.
without like tainting him to think what I think. So.
Right.
But yeah, that was like too much. But I think that's how I'm feeling. I'm feeling really overwhelmed. And I do think that I'm not sure if it's because New York City has always been like kind of aggressive or it's the pandemic has made me more sensitive or has made people more aggressive. I'm not sure what it is, but it's very intense. I feel like every time I go out, people are like really angry.
It's so hostile. I mean, just look at, if you stand on the
Yeah.
subway platforms, everyone stands up against the wall. Everyone's like around beams, and it used to not be that way. There's a lot of hostility in the air in New York, and
Right?
yeah. So yeah,
Yeah, it's really ramped up.
That's my roundabout way of saying I am pro Lego gun. So
Well, you're really selling New York to me here. I'm going there next week, man.
Be careful. Nigel, bring your Lego gun.
bring your Lego
Yeah.
gun.
Every
And
news
get ready to yell.
article that comes out from America that we get, like about America and Asians in America, is about Asians getting punched, Asian getting pushed onto the train tracks.
Yeah.
It's a little
Yeah.
depressing. And then I get to Chicago here, and I didn't get punched, so it's like okay, I think maybe it's a
That's
bit
nice.
exaggerated. So that's nice.
You got the
But
Midwest.
you need a better PR
hospitality
team,
in
man.
Chicago.
We
The
need a
Midwest-
better PR team.
Our PR
Yeah.
team is doing its best to hide you from anything that's going on in Florida. So the fact that you're getting that is the PR team, they're doing their work. But yeah, Nigel, enough about us. How are you feeling?
Mm-hmm. I'm feeling foreign, as in like I did a set yesterday. I'm here in the U.S. for my tour, right? So I've been foreign more than half my life now. As in I'm from Malaysia, then I lived in the U.S. for a while for university and for work, and then moved to the U.K. But I didn't even realize how much UK stuff I've picked up because I've lived there for 7 years. And yesterday when I was doing my set, I knew there were certain things that I had to. I just did a short 8-minute spot. I knew there were certain jokes that won't work or certain references that need updating. But what surprised me was even like some of the observational jokes just didn't even land because, observational humor is something relatable to people, right? And I didn't even know certain things that happen in the UK don't happen here. So now today I have to be like, okay, what jokes do I need to drop? I have another 20-minute warm-up set tonight, so I get to try more stuff and see what jokes I have to adjust. But like a lot of observations I do are like about quaint British shit. Like, okay, one example. People lose their trash cans in the UK. It's a common problem. Like, outside of houses, they call them bins, right? So every Tuesday when the bin men come, the garbage men come, and then sometimes they'll just take the trash can and put it at a different house, or they will accidentally take someone's trash can without returning it, and they just ship it away. So every day every week the neighbors will complain, oh, where's my trash can gone? So that in the UK, that's like a very quite universal observational thing. Everybody has had that problem. And then I brought it up here yesterday in Chicago. People are staring at me blankly. First of all, they're like, what the fuck's a bin? Because like, the word is trash can.
You lost us at bin man.
Yeah, I know. So it's like that. I thought bin was universal. Because you use like Windows 95, isn't that like a recycling bin? So I thought that was universal,
True.
Isn't it? So I thought the word bin was universal, so I was wrong on that. And then apparently people don't lose their trash cans here because yours are like bigger, the metal ones.
Yeah.
They're outside buildings. So there's little things like that. All the quaint British shit.
Man, that's some quaint British shit right there. Getting your bin stolen.
I know.
Is that the kind of issues that Asians in the UK have? Because we're just like, we're getting stabbed. You're like, my bin got stolen.
Yeah, in general, it's pretty peaceful there. I actually got punched in the UK, You don't hear about like COVID hate.
Wow,
yeah,
what happened?
I talked about it in an old podcast episode. This was 2 years ago now. I was just walking on the street. I was almost home, and then this guy on a bicycle, he saw me, he jumped off his bike, and then just walked towards me and started like punching me.
Wow.
And, I suspected COVID hate crime. You can't really prove their intention, right? And we couldn't find the guy.
Damn.
Afterwards.
There's a lot of hate there. He got off.
Dang.
He was already on his way to somewhere, and he got off his bike and then walked to.
Yeah.
Wow.
He made a detour.
Damn.
Yeah.
He
was rushing somewhere, and he made a detour to punch me.
Wow.
Wow. And
Wow.
that is wild. And this is quite depressing. And I don't want to do the comedian thing to make like, here's a suggestion or something. But if you replace the bin material with what you just described, way more relatable in America.
Yeah. That's
sad.
another bit of mine too. I do that in my show too. Yes. So.
Oh God. So
but the
sad.
bin stuff. Oh. As a comic, sometimes I'm very proud of myself when I write something observational that's not like about how foreign I am. It's about like just me living in a local community, because you feel like, you belong here. Oh, I notice things that you have. I have the same problems you have too.
Yeah.
But that is a bit jarring when you come to a different country and then the people just look at you blankly, I used the word pensioner yesterday. In the UK, we use that to describe an old person. And I said the word pensioner, people just looked at me blankly again. I'm like, oh, you don't have pensions here. You don't have healthcare either. You won't ever get to retire. So that's why you never.
What's a pension?
Yeah.
You're also dealing with the element of
That's so
American
funny.
audiences have to then like conceptualize that there are people outside of America and that they're not the center of the universe. But
yeah, that's hard. That's hard.
That's
so
wild.
that's
They
how
don't
I'm
like
feeling, being foreign all over again. I thought I was
no.
done with this shit. Yeah.
What a horrible feeling. No, like I would say the worst that I've ever bombed is, to your point, like these like quaint observations, like they tickle they're for you. They tickle you because you don't want to just be reliant on like, I'm a foreigner, I'm Asian, like this is like I don't belong here. This is my comedy and let me point and stuff like that. Like a lot of my jokes center around like millennial neuroses, and I remember I had to do I had to do a show like where the average audience age was like 60 years old, very blue collar, and so much of my material is reliant on like, just millennial neuroses, and I've legit had an out of body experience because I'm like, everything I'm saying here is just foreign and alien, and you're not laughing. I don't want to be here. Let's just power through the material and get on with our lives.
Oh, that's the worst.
Like you mentioned, I don't know, what was something you mentioned, like therapy, and then 60-year-old guys are like, what?
Oh, 100%.
No.
100%. Or like talking about like dating apps, and they're just like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Like,
Tinder. You're
like,
like, did anyone catch the season finale of Euphoria? And they're like, shut the fuck up. What the hell is he talking about?
it's like I'm up here doing some real Carhartt shit to people who actually are like reliant on it to do their jobs.
Brian's doing his hot beanie bit. It's like, you know, when you roll your beanie up 2 times and more girls want to suck your dick. It's like, okay, no.
They're like, the night is late. I need to go to work tomorrow and do my blue collar job. I fucking hate you, and I don't want to hear you ever again. But Nigel, we're honored to have you on the podcast.
Of course,
the most famous Asian comedian, toe to toe with Ronnie Chang.
Yeah.
But you touched on this a little bit on your on just how you're feeling, but for our listeners, like, you've amassed a large online following with the character Uncle Roger, but before that you had success as a stand-up comedian, and you've made appearances on BBC, Comedy Central, and you won the Best Newcomer award at the prestigious Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and currently now you're on tour doing stand-up, and we're wondering, like, how has the reception been from fans who might know you only as Uncle Roger?
I'd say it's been great, because I was half worried that, so the tour show, the format of the tour show, I open the show as Uncle Roger, and then my support act, my opener comes on after Uncle Roger. Then we have an intermission where I can get changed, and then I come on as myself.
Right.
So I was half worried that people would just leave after the Uncle Roger section. They'd be like, we saw him now. Yes, he talked about fried rice and roasted us. Great, we got all you wanted. Let's go.
Right.
But fortunately, people stayed for the show, and I have to say, I am a stronger stand-up than Uncle Roger is, because I've been doing stand-up as myself for way longer.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
So yeah, I'm glad people stayed, and I'm glad the reception has been good. Yeah, of course, there are some people out there who will never come see me do stand-up because they like me as Uncle Roger only.
Right.
And that's but that's fine too. There's an enough percentage of conversion to the stand-up, which still allows me to tour. So I'm very fortunate. It's been good.
Right.
Oh, that's great.
That's great. I think for people who aren't, familiar with like stand-up and like the big, like the Fringe Festival being as big as it is, like, people don't understand like the amount of success you had as a stand-up comedian. For you to have those accolades, that means that you're like fucking really great at it.
Well, I would say something about the Fringe though. It's not really like, people think the Fringe is like Montreal. I think it's very different. The Fringe is like, how do you put it? Anybody can bring a show up there. Anyone. There is no audition process. When you go to, it's in Edinburgh in Scotland, right? So every August, it's in every August, and they turn every university classroom, every pub, every basement of a pub, every little sometimes outdoor spaces into a venue, into a theater venue. So some places are just like a corner of a bar where 20 people, 15 people can sit there and perform. Right. It's a very like democratic, art festival, as in anybody can join. There's no gatekeepers at all. So you get very varying results. So when people say, "Oh, I did the Fringe," don't be too impressed. That's what I'm saying.
Wow. Look at
Brian, we're going to Edinburgh Fringe.
We're gonna
you
do
and
it.
I, Brian. Let's do this. Feeling
but
Asian.
Also, let's take a moment and note that Nigel here is being a humble Asian king.
I feel like that's what's going on too. I sense a little bit of that for sure.
Yeah. We saw the write-ups. We saw the Guardian give you the shouts. They're not giving anyone shouts. So you had a great one-man show there. But yeah, this has been very curious. I've wondered about this because like Uncle Roger is very much a persona, and it is a character, and for people who might only know you as Uncle Roger, like, they may not be privy to this whole other facet of you, and like you described, you've been doing stand-up. You're a much stronger stand-up than you are as like doing stand-up as Uncle Roger, because you've been doing it for so long. And have there been audience members like who've come up to you after shows who are like kind of surprised, or they're like, "Oh wow, I had no idea, like this is like," like, has that happened to you?
Yeah, a lot of people. I attract an internet-y crowd, right, who follow YouTubers.
Yeah.
So a lot of YouTubers tour as well. So they are pleasantly surprised when I actually I'm pretty good at stand-up, because a lot of YouTubers, they get big. They never had a stand-up background. They get big, then they start touring. right?
Right.
Then they struggle, man, because live
And they
stand up is
suck.
so much
Yeah.
more difficult than YouTube. I think YouTube is difficult in a different way, but
Mhm.
sense of
It's a
humor
different
wise,
skill.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's different. Like sense of humor wise, like funny wise, YouTube you can use editing to help you, to add a music bit, add sound effects, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know, to help you. But stand up is just you, the mic, and the crowd. And no
Yeah.
matter how many
And-
followers you have, like you will still bomb. You know what I
And
mean?
You
So
still
it's-
need that skill.
And
yeah,
you gotta
exactly.
just the quaintest UK observations.
I know. I need to move, man.
What are you
I
talking
need
about,
to
sir?
live there
Okay.
too long.
Well,
there
so
too
this
long.
is the thing. I'm glad that you brought that up because I feel like a lot of people get so big on YouTube
Uh-huh.
as like a performer or comedians, and people don't realize that performing live comedy is a separate skill that needs to be honed, and it takes like years to do it. And so then, you know, they have like whatever 10 million followers, they hit the road and it's like crickets.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like tomatoes, you know.
I know. I feel bad, man. Like, because like on YouTube, the 10 million, they feel like they're like king of the world.
Right.
They haven't
Yeah,
bombed
yeah.
yet. They never bombed in their life yet. And then to bomb in front of people who love you. Oh, it's one thing to bomb in front of people who hate you or are
Yeah,
indifferent
yeah.
to you, right? They're like, oh, it's not my crowd.
Yeah.
And then if a YouTuber bombs, like, that is your crowd, and you're still bombing.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the worst feeling, man.
That's
It
awful.
must feel really good for you to like do that intro as Uncle Roger, and then the people are still there, and then you're like, haha, I'm gonna pull this out of my hat. I bet you didn't know that I could also do this.
Yeah.
You know, that must feel really good.
It's like your
Yeah,
secret
it
weapon.
does. It's like the pressure's off now.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh, okay, I can just relax and perform as myself, and people have gotten what they want. They feel like they have gotten their tickets worth,
Right.
their money's
Yeah.
worth. And when you mentioned Uncle Roger's a character, I feel like at first I thought he was a character, and then after doing it a while, I realized, oh shit, it's not really a character. Uncle Roger is who I would have become if I didn't leave Malaysia. You know, Uncle Roger is who I would be in 20 years if I was still back in Malaysia. You know,
This is me.
Yeah, I see that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you have described your comedy as being somewhat like curmudgeon, and Uncle Roger is
Yeah.
very much like a curmudgeon, and
attitude, yeah, sassiness,
yeah,
the Asian uncle sassiness.
and this what would you say is the like who is Uncle Roger's audience on YouTube? Does it skew young?
Yeah. What's your demo?
Yeah, it skews young because YouTube skews young. Yes.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, I guess I'm also biased, right? Because younger people are the ones more likely to leave comments and join your Discord and participate in the discussion because they're all jobless and unemployed, so they have time, right? But I
Right.
think I have when it comes to the stand up, it's people of all ages, man. You know, I
Yeah.
get people who are born after 2000 in the 2000s, and which is like, wow, how are you even allowed to be here? I have also like people closer to my parents' age, you know, 40s, 50s, and also people around my age, 20s, 30s. So I think it's everybody, but on YouTube it skews young because YouTube skews young.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Well, that's great. I mean, I imagine it must be like a really fun experiment, but also a fun challenge in some ways to see like, okay, does this audience who loves me for Uncle Roger fuck with my stand-up, where the audience may not be like totally tailored in that algorithmic way, you know?
Yeah, sometimes they get surprised because in my stand up it can get a bit dirty. It can get a bit
Yeah.
on the edge, you know. I try to go a little bit slightly provocative. Some jokes, not every joke. So they get a bit surprised, and their parents will bring their 14-year-olds. They're like, "Oh boy!"
Oh
I
no.
have to explain
See,
to him what a
this is
dildo is on the car
oh
ride
my
back.
god. Oh no. Well, see, I'm always really fascinated by stand-up comedians specifically that become famous on larger platforms where they're a little bit more like wholesome. Like, you know, like Bob Saget. You remember like
Yeah.
how he used to host like America's Funniest Home Videos, and that's how everyone knew him, like as
Yeah.
this like
And he's the
dad,
Full House,
like,
the Full House dad.
dad
Yeah.
guy. But then his stand-up was like just, you know, like
Really,
the
crass.
fucking most intense. It was very, very crass. And so I was always like, I wonder what it felt like for people that went to Bob Saget shows, because they were like, it's probably like people in the Midwest that like these like old like people, and they're like, oh, I love this wholesome
Let's go
dad.
see some
and then you get
wholesome
there
comedy. Yeah.
Yeah.
talking about like jerking off into someone's ripped open neck. I don't even know. He got really weird with it, right? And I think that was part of, I feel like for him, that was part of his act though, like to come off as this wholesome person and then just like come in with the weird
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
and freak them
Totally.
out.
Yeah. For me, fortunately for YouTube, I get to control the type of content I put out. So the Uncle Roger videos, they're not completely clean. There's some dirty jokes in there.
Yeah.
As any
For sure.
middle-aged Asian boomer would tell that kind of dirty jokes. So there's a little bit of that. And I'm just less extreme. Bob Saget's very clean, and then R.I.P. Bob Saget very clean on
R.I.P.
TV,
Yeah.
very
Respect.
dirty on stage, right? I'm like
Uh-huh.
less extreme. I'm kind of dirty
Yeah.
on YouTube, a little
Yeah.
bit more dirtier on stage.
Right.
So I think
Yeah.
people
And
know
also
what to expect.
Yeah, and I also feel like because of the internet and how much we're seeing of people, because it used to be like performers, we would see them like 1 hour a week and then they disappeared from our consciousness. But like with the internet, we're always in front of people. And I think that there's more of an openness to have like a fully fleshed out human being. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they're okay with, yeah.
I think that's important too. With the internet, that realness that people never
Yeah.
got from traditional media and TV and stuff, because it's also filtered and they all become presenters. In the UK, like a lot of comics got big, and then the biggest thing they do, they host Masked Singer, and it's like that is the most. I mean, kudos to you. Gets paid a lot,
Get
but
that money.
yeah, but it's the most sterile thing, isn't it?
Right.
You can't really have a personality on Masked Singer.
Yeah, no. Nobody wants to see your personality on The Masked Singer.
No, just read the cue card and shut up. That's what a presenter's job is.
Well, Nigel, it goes without saying that your Uncle Roger character is beloved and adored because, like we said up top, numbers don't lie. But he's also no stranger to criticism. And
Oh boy, yes.
In past
I
interviews,
get canceled once a year on average.
Oh.
So, yeah.
But
And,
I mean,
oh, sorry.
And I want to emphasize, it's not like a big Me Too cancellation. It's more like shit I said, or that kind
Right.
of shitty
yeah,
jokes.
but which is
cancellation.
also, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some of your videos where some of the cancellations come out of the content of Uncle Roger's jokes or the jokes you make in character. Like I think most recently there was a joke about Russia, and you had to make a you had to make a response video to it. But
Yeah.
Especially here in America, like the Uncle Roger character, if you go on Twitter or even on Reddit, he has been criticized for the usage of his accent. And, in past
Yes.
interviews, you have said that most of the criticism directed at Uncle Roger and his accompanying accent has come from Asians in the West. And we want to know, why do you feel that is?
Yeah, a lot of people think I'm perpetuating stereotypes. There's this chef out there whose videos I really like, actually, so it's a bit of a bummer. Kenji Lopez. He hates my guts, man. But, to each his own, to each his own. I don't blame him. I think the criticism is more like, it's like his accent, he doesn't speak like this, but he puts on the accent, it perpetuates stereotypes. And I can see why, I think some people, and again, this is a minority of people, most people just view it, laugh, and move on.
Right. the
Some
numbers
people, I
don't
think,
lie.
yeah, I think maybe some people grew up and maybe they, being the only Asian person in a majority white place, they felt very displaced. And whenever they hear that accent being done at them, the intention behind that accent is malice, it's malicious, right?
Right.
It's maybe a white guy trying to make fun of you. It's, the accent's coming, he's going to take my lunch money now, It's like
Totally.
PTSD. It triggers something inside them. And I get that. Some people's lives are like that. But what I would say to that is I think an accent is not a stereotype, right? A stereotype is a lot of things. It's an accent with the intention of mocking someone and trying to put people down. It's everything. And I think if you look at my videos, sure, the character has an accent, but it's an accent that's very close to how I grew up sounding. So it's it's what I did in my childhood, how I sounded in my childhood,
Right.
and also the things I talk about. It's like Asian culture shit. How else can white people learn about galangal? Asian ingredients and rice cookers and MSG, all that stuff. So that's the criticism, really. I think people think it's a bit. I don't know, perpetuating stereotypes and making us look bad and come across as, they think like some white guy's gonna be, oh, Chinaman speak funny. They'll watch an Uncle Roger
Right,
video
right.
and then use that accent to mock other Asian people.
Yeah, I think I always found it really interesting because I've heard you talking about this before.
Mm-hmm.
I think the point that you make that is the most interesting for me is you're talking about how, as an Asian person that grew up in Asia, that's like a very common way that Asian people joke about ourselves. And, like even in Korea, you see the comedy there, and it is very like making fun of our culture for our people, because there's a safety in understanding that your audience is you, right? It's just Korean people watching this. So if you say something funny about how like Koreans are cheapskates or whatever, it's just other Koreans being like, yeah, ha ha ha. But then, and I know this is like this is like such a big conversation with all like marginalized groups, like, and we all know what happened to like Dave Chappelle back in the day, where he had this realization that he was like, what I'm assuming is he was doing these jokes, which he meant for like the black community, and then one day he realized that the room was full of white people and they're all laughing at his community, and he had this like big thing that made him feel bad. But I like struggle so much with thinking about this because, number one, I think the most important rule for me is I never want to tell an Asian person what they can and can't do as a creative. That's not my place, and I respect everyone to make their own like assessment on what they're doing to help and harm the community, especially because I feel like I really truly believe this, that you're never coming at it from a place of like condescending our community. It's almost like you're coming at it like from a place of love and respect, and that's how I joke, like how I joke about my mom.
Yeah.
And it fucking sucks when I make a joke about my fucking Korean mom and like Korean people get it and we're like ha 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 respectfully laughing, and it fucking sucks to then see like somebody that's gonna take it and go somewhere fucking weird with it, but I just don't have any control with like over that. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Whatever you put out, you can't really control what people will do with it. Right?
Totally.
Otherwise,
Totally.
you, as a creative, you'll just be
complicated.
paralyzed and you won't ever put out anything.
Right. And
You know what I mean?
and some
For sure.
yeah
And I'll just say it, like I think what's I've had like a whole arc and like complicated feelings like surrounding this Uncle Roger character, because what you described, I very much fit into that mold of Asian American, where like I grew up in a predominantly white community. I had like Asian accents thrown at me as a form of like discrimination, and it was always used like with hostility and malice. And so like you described, it's like a trigger for me where immediately I'm like, really? And so I've known your work for a long time, Nigel, where like I loved your stand up, and then when I saw the Uncle Roger character, before even watching any of the videos, I was like, oh man, like why we got to do the Asian accent? Like this seems sort of like, and that's me being like judgmental and not really like assessing the content fairly, because after having watched numerous videos, there's so many stark differences to what is associated with the Asian accent here in America, and I think there's so many layers to this conversation because, for one, you grew up in Asia. Your relationship to an Asian accent is going to be so different from my relationship to hearing an Asian accent, because I grew up in America, and more specifically a very white community where Asian accents were just always used as a way to ridicule. And I guess like what's the difference for me is I feel like, and again, like I never want to, like Youngmi said, I fucking hate policing. I never want to police someone's work, someone's art, like, because at the end of the day, like, we'll let the people decide, like it's everyone has their own morality and litmus test for like what's good and what's bad for the community. And like, for one, like you don't even have any obligation to make art that's like, it's whatever speaks to you, and that's it. And I guess for me here, it's like I'm very cynical, where I assume like, how do you know for real that the people who are consuming that content are like laughing with you and not just like clinging on to, because there's so like comedy's so broad. Like when I watch a stand-up special with my dad, the things that my dad laughs at, sometimes it's not even the punchline. He's just like laughing at the way someone's arm is flapping around. Whereas like as a comedian, I'm all about like the writing. And so you have no control over how people are going to receive the Uncle Roger character. The jokes are great. The writing is very sharp. It's not like some fucking Long Duck Dong shit from the 80s where they didn't even have any speaking roles and they're just like using the accent. Like you're just being truthful to like what a Malaysian uncle would be like. That's how they would speak. And you're using the platform to celebrate Asian cuisine and like poke fun at people like at their attempts at it. Now, like, how do you like, I guess I'm just cynical. I just think that maybe there's a lot of people who will laugh at the accent itself, and for that to have so much popularity overall, it would like hamper or like be used as a way to like judge Asian Americans like negatively. Do you get what I'm trying to like say here?
Yeah, I think the way I determine like the intent of the laugh, right? That's what you're trying to get at.
Yeah.
I think one way to look at it would be to look at the comments people leave underneath the videos.
Right.
Right? Like look at take the Jamie Oliver video, for example. People are laughing at Jamie Oliver. Most of the comments are people laughing at Jamie Oliver fucking up the Asian food. Yeah. Fucking up egg fried rice, which is the intention of the video. And will there be people who are just laughing like, haha, Chinaman speak funny? Of course. But I think based on my experience looking at the comments, I don't look through every single one, but I open up the YouTube studio and I check the comments, and it's very, very, a very, very small percentage, you know. And those people, they probably won't subscribe to it. They'll probably like, oh, watch once, oh, haha, Chinaman speak funny, move on, right? They won't be invested in like, oh, the cooking technique. They won't subscribe and come back for more, I don't think. And based on the comments they leave, it's very few people leave comments like that, fortunately, which is nice. And I think that's also another good thing about YouTube and versus the Chappelle incident. Not incident, but Chappelle's experience ages ago. He was making Chappelle's show, right? And with this kind of big network thing, you have very little control over the final creative output, right? Sure, you write it, you act in it, but like the filming, the editing, the way it's packaged, everything is so controlled by the executive, the suits, I like to call them. Yeah. But with YouTube, it's me filming it, me writing it with some help from writers and my comic friends and chefs. Me filming it, me editing it. I do the thumbnail. I do the title. I look at the comments. I post about it on my socials. I choose what clips to clip out to put on TikTok. So at least everything still filters through me, and then there's still the little bit of Asian conscience in there. You know what I mean? As opposed to
there's a POV. And I think that's like also the thing that Brian brought up about the Long Duck Dong thing is like somebody wrote that from a disgusting place. A white person wrote that. But your POV is in Uncle Roger. And Uncle Roger, the character, is very, very strong. And he is very subversive as a character because he is the one that's like correcting people that are being stupid, like Jamie Oliver. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like he isn't the butt of the joke. And I think that thing that you said about Chappelle is very interesting because he even said that, I think the moment that it struck him was he was looking out like among the crew, and the whole crew was white because it's like the director's white, the cameraman's white, the producer, the guy making all the money is white, you know. But at that, can I just say this one thing really quick? Also,
Youngmi, sorry, Youngmi, just before we go on, just to provide some color for our listeners, the Chappelle incident that we keep referring to is he walked away from like a multi-million dollar deal from Comedy Central and like dipped to Africa, and because at the end of the day he was like, you people are laughing at my community and you're not laughing with me. You're laughing at the wrong parts of my material. So
he felt like a minstrel act, basically.
Fine. Yeah. Sorry, but go on, Youngmi.
Yeah.
And then he came back to do trans jokes.
Came back. So. And then he came back. He came back, and then it just ruined his legacy.
I've done some self-reflection.
Yeah.
He came back worse.
I've decided to talk about trans people.
Wait, but I just want to say this, like, you know, I think Brian and I have been talking about this before we recorded, and there's like, I think that this conversation, there is no answer, and I don't think we should look at cultural issues like this being like, what's the fucking answer? Is it yes or no? Do you know what I mean? I think it's very nuanced. I think it's very complicated. You know, there are the people that out there that hate it. There are the people that understand it. But I think what I wanted to say was whatever fucking issue that I might, you know, like have with it when I'm thinking about it, I have laughed so hard at your videos. Like, they make me fucking laugh.
Thanks.
They're fucking funny. I don't know. Like, am I gonna feel bad about that? No, I don't know. They make me fucking laugh, and a lot of stand-up comedians just do not make me laugh. So there's that. You know.
Oh, thank you very much, Young Mi. And one thing, Brian, you said about the relationship you have to the Asian accent.
Yeah.
And that's I mean, it rings very true to a lot of people who grew up in the West, right? And for
sure.
me, from my experience, when I go home and I hear that accent, it brings me joy, you know? It makes me feel like, oh, yeah, that was how I used to sound. It means like when people put that accent, the more casual, the Uncle Roger style of speaking, like, hiya, fuyo, those kind of slang words, then I know I'm in a company of like, it's a casual company. People are not trying to put on airs. It's not a corporate environment. It feels like home. It feels joyful. You know, so that's my relationship with that accent.
Yeah.
You know,
Also,
and it
I
comes
have
from
to
that
say,
place as well.
yeah. And I don't know about like you culturally, but for Koreans, like Korean people speak in a tone that's like that to be funny. Do you know what I mean? Like they'll say things like "aigo" like that, like because it's funny.
Yeah.
And we laugh. And the reason that old Korean people say things like that is to make each other laugh. And again, it's just like, what are you gonna do if some fucking racist also was making fun of us because of that? You know, what are we gonna do?
Yeah. It'll be funny. I've never seen a white guy say "aigu" though. That would be that'll be something new for them, I think.
Be like, wow, that guy is so cultured.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point to stress, Young Mi, is that we're not. There's no singular answer, and at the end of the day, it's people are gonna consume what they want to consume, and that's what's the beauty of the internet. In some ways, it's that it is meritocratic. Like you can't. Like like you can't deny like there's immense popularity, and who am I to police like the intention behind like their laughs, you know? And
and just not to throw like So what were you saying, Brian?
Yeah, but like I'm not like absolving myself either, because it is like I have had like complicated feelings towards it. Like I would say I am of the camp of like, you know, I used to hear like a lot of Asian actors on podcasts before where they would deny auditions purely if they just had an Asian accent, just as a means of like, we're past that. And I was of that camp too, where anything with an Asian accent, I'd be like, fuck this goes totally against like what I set out to do in America. Like we've had enough roles in American media where if there was one Asian character, they had an Asian accent. Why can't we have an Asian American character who just speaks with a neutral American accent? And like, but then I don't know if I'm like being too much, because I think it's a slippery slope, because then at that point I'm like, well, am I just as bad? Am I just as bad for like immediately deriding an Asian accent and immediately assuming that it is bad? Like, I don't know. It's an endless rabbit hole, but I'm not absolving myself, Nigel. Like it is nice to hear your intentionality behind it, because when I first saw the video that like sparked all of it, like the washing the rice, I thought it was so funny. But then at the same time I'm like, oh man, like is this guy just like throwing our culture under the bus and just like doing an Asian accent just to appeal to like white people? And you know, for you, I would not be able to know that about you had I not had this conversation of like, it comes from a place of like love and celebration, and it is an ode to your like very real, authentic experience. And if I'm just like an internet warrior, I wouldn't know that. I would just like project whatever my policing like mentality is.
But also it's written so well that like I think that it would be hard to see, like, because your jokes are written from this perspective of like Uncle Roger always having the upper hand and power. So I think that is also subversive in itself.
I try, and I actually personally I love Asian food, and I love how it's made, and I've learned so much from it. And you know, like you learn how ramen's made, and then Uncle Roger's like, I need to shit on these chefs who attempt to make ramen, these Western chefs. And another thing about the putting our own culture down for for the white gaze, so to speak, right? Very academic, very 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 lefty term. But I've heard you can put your own culture down without putting on the accent too. You know what I mean? I've seen Asian comics here in Europe or in the US. The jokes they tell, I'm like, fuck, I'd rather you do an accent, mate. Yeah. You know, like the jokes you tell is like the hacky, shitty stereotype, talking about your own, how shit your own people are. Oh, we're Chinese, we cut corner, ha ha ha. You know?
Yeah.
Like, oh,
I hate that
gross.
shit too. That shit is rampant.
I mean, Young Mi and I have talked about this. That's a big reason why I sort of stepped away from stand up, because I would do these shows with, like you described, Nigel, with these other Asian comedians where their punchlines are just reinforcing negative stereotypes of like,
Yeah.
well,
So
of
bad.
course, like I'm a Asian woman, I'm a bad driver, and the room would just erupt with laughter, and that would make me so upset because I'm like, I have no control over this audience, but I also don't want to make you laugh because we would never get a drink outside of the context of this show. Like, I don't want to be friends with you if you're the type of person
Why'd you
who's,
laugh
like,
at that?
seeing this joke as just a way to assuage whatever like racist preconceptions that you might have. But yeah, it is a.
Wait, can I just? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, go on, Youngmi.
Oh, I was gonna say I thought you were wrapping up. I just want to say one more point.
Oh yeah.
Oh, so not to shit on like Asian Americans or anything, but I feel like there is a lack of understanding. Like, you know, because you are from Asia, Nigel. Like, there's a lack of understanding. There's a little bit of a disconnect there culturally on what is acceptable and how Asians in Asia act. And I feel like it is a little gatekeepy for Asian Americans to project their ideas onto all Asians. That's all.
I mean, it's kind of an American thing to do, isn't it? So in a sense, you're assimilating to the Americanness.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like them being like an Asian person would never like assert like their thoughts onto another person. Just kidding.
Yeah.
That's a joke. It's like white behavior. They're becoming Karens.
I'll never go tell Aquafina, hey, speak normal, Aquafina. You know.
That's like such a white thing to do. To tell somebody else like how to behave is a Karen thing to do. It's an American thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you should be proud of that. That means you're part of the country now. You know, you're part of the fabric.
We did it.
You know?
We assimilated.
Isn't that what you were fighting for?
Oh my god.
Yes, we are Americans.
Wow.
Yes.
Told you.
Wow. I can finally quit this comedy thing. I can just, now that I've gone full Karen, I can just no, but this has been I really appreciate you like fielding our questions and being open to this discussion, Nigel, cuz at the end of the day I think that's what it boils down to is that like I'm coming at it from a cynical view, but I'm carrying my experience as growing up in America, and you're coming at it from like a celebratory, optimistic point of view, where like you are introducing people who normally may not be introduced to this sort of content or to this side of Asian culture with like camaraderie and a sense of love. Whereas for me, I'm like, fuck this. Initially, I don't feel this way anymore, but initially it was just like, fuck this Asian accent. Like, these white people are all laughing at the accent. They don't give a fuck about anything else. Like, this is setting back Asians in media. And but I've come around. And
yeah, if it makes you feel any better, Brian, I've gotten tagged in so many white people buying rice cookers. And they're learning how to make rice properly. So
I don't give a fuck about the white people.
Doing the work.
I don't give a fuck about the white people. I don't give a fuck. I'm just trying to offer a counterpoint here where I've seen the Reddit posts. People like to Uncle Roger is a point of discussion, and I'm saying like I kind of see both. I still totally see both sides of it, and I want to get to the root of it. But speaking of,
I don't. I just want to laugh. I'm so tired of talking about this fucking I'm sick of the fucking discourse. Who gives a shit? Okay. I'm just kidding. Who cares?
No, for real.
I just laughed. I just laughed at the Uncle Roger videos. What? You're gonna fucking cancel me for laughing? Shut up. I don't care anymore. Who cares? My mom also laughed. My mom's fucking Korean. She's been through a wartime. Okay, leave her alone.
And when the thing about auditioning for a role to the Asian accent, I think it depends on the role and how it's written and the point of view too, right? Like when you watch like Minari, it would be weird if the mom character spoke like with a perfect
English accent.
Right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so depends on the role.
It's about the writing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great point.
But Nigel, are there any things that you do as yourself as Nigel in the kitchen that would get roasted by Uncle Roger?
The way I designed my kitchen. Yeah, that it's pretty. It's a nice kitchen, but it's a very Western style kitchen. Like
what's a Western style versus an Eastern style kitchen?
Well, have you? I'm comparing my mom's kitchen to my kitchen. I think it's a lot more cluttered, but it's cluttered in a way that makes sense.
Okay.
It's cluttered, and because things are all out in display, because it's convenient. You want to walk, you grab the ladle, grab the ladle.
Right.
My stuff, everything's tucked away in drawers, so you have to open this, open that, and then my mom in Asia, we cook. We don't really have gas built into the house, so we have every couple of weeks or so there'll be a gas delivery guy delivering like these butane tanks, right? So you take
That's how my mom's house is.
Yeah, they take the old tank out. They get the new tank in. So I think those tanks, they allow you to get like bigger like walk fires, and you can move the tank outside and cook outside as well. So my mom kind of has an outdoor kitchen. I don't, and Uncle Roger would be a bit pissed because and I also don't have a vent, a hood, like a cooking hood over the stove in my house because to me I think it looks a bit ugly. But if you want to make Asian food, man, you need a hood, man. You need the extractor. Otherwise, the garlic, the soy sauce, everything, just your house smells like garlic for the next few days. Although unless you have an outdoor kitchen.
I will say that speaking of the vent and the hoods, like a Korean barbecue place without the hood or the vent over it, I feel like it makes it more for an authentic. That's
deadly.
Deadly. Your clothes are ruined, but you know that place slaps when they don't have vents over the grills.
And they all have them, no? They have like the tube that comes down.
Brian, they have to have them. It's a legal thing.
Okay, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
What bootleg Korean place are you going to that we don't know about? It's like
You're putting our people down, Brian. Yeah, Asians, we don't follow the rules,
Oh my god.
Koreans don't have vents over there, so
god.
Yeah. I think it's a legal thing.
Yeah. Okay, well, this is another thing.
Brian's never been to a Korean restaurant ever. He doesn't go. He just outed himself.
Isn't there anything more? Is there anything more American than that, though, than to just speak like I'm the police and police others?
Brian is American.
But I have zero authority over what the fuck I'm talking about.
Yeah, I respect that with Americans. Like I came here for university, right? And the level of confidence Americans have speaking about sometimes topics they know, which is fine.
Wrong and loud.
Yeah, and it's useful in life, isn't it? You just kind of bullshit your way to the top, and it works, man. And sometimes I feel like Asians from Asia, we need a bit of that. We're all very like timid and shy sometimes, and then that it costs us opportunities. We don't speak up. You know?
Right.
So the American thing is good. Keep that, Brian. Keep that.
Oh,
Keep
God.
it, Brian. Be confident and wrong.
Be
loud and
you're
wrong.
You're creating a monster here. I'm gonna create a persona where it's just pure Asian accent, pure minstrel act, sets our culture back 1,000 years, and I don't give a fuck.
There we go. I love it.
Yeah.
This is
I'm American.
You need a bit of Kanye. You need a bit of Kanye in you.
I'm entering.
Yeah, Brian's been talking about that.
Right after this, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a Craigslist ad and be like, you need to document me 24/7. I'm going to pay you nothing, but guaranteed I'm going to be the next biggest thing in comedy. So you bet your ass on it. Just follow me around.
So funny.
No, but speaking about like confidence, I want to talk about food a bit here, Nigel. So, I know you as a comedian. I'm sure that's like your jam. You were busy doing open mics and doing comedy shows. Like, are you a great chef? Because these videos, like, it requires a very specific knowledge, and I'm sure there's like a magnified lens where people really need to make sure, like, is Uncle Roger doing his shit right? And how, like, what's your relationship to it? Are you naturally just like a good cook always? Have you always been that way?
I'm a decent home cook. I'm an okay home cook level.
Right.
I used to think I was a good home cook, and until I started making these videos and I see how the pros do it.
Okay.
I'm like, wow, I have so much to learn. It's like, what do you call it? The opposite of the Dunning-Kruger effect or something, right? The better you are, something the more shit you realize you are.
Yeah.
So that's where I am. I would say those videos would not be possible without the help of my chef friends and food other people who are also very passionate about food. Whether or not they're chefs. So a lot of the times, in the process of making the video, if it's a dish I don't really know, so if it's a fried rice video, I reviewed it too many times. I know everything on the top of my head now. But if it's like, say, Thai green curry, like ramen, pho, I have my friends I talk to who are pros in that environment, pros in those dishes, and I do my research. I book an hour of their time. I talk about the dish, how to make it properly, what the video got wrong, and then also that like cooking technique. I want people to watch my videos for the comedy, but and not the journalism. But it's nice to get the technique, the technical side of things as correct as I possibly can. Yeah. So that's how I make them.
What I think is really important about your videos, like besides obviously the humor, is that there is a cultural phenomenon where white people attempt to make Asian food, they don't fucking know anything about it and they don't respect it, but they don't give a fuck because it's like I'm fucking Jamie Oliver, you know,
Yeah.
like
Jamie
I'll get away with
Thai
it.
I'm
green
gonna-
curry,
I'm gonna
baby.
show you how to do this and you're gonna listen because I'm famous, you know. It's like that, like kind of like what you're talking about. Like in the West, there's this like I'm wrong and I'm confident, so you have to listen to me. And I think that what you're doing, I think, is very interesting and important because you're like, dude, no, you're doing it wrong, and like and it's disrespectful, dude. Like it's fine that you're a chef and you're gonna take your little, like, you can make your little take on a certain cuisine, but these are the same people that if I fucked up bangers and mash, they would call me like, they would like cancel me on, if I fucked up their fucking beloved bangers and mash, I'd be like canceled forever. Do you know what I mean? It's like when you're talking about another person's culture, it's almost like, you know, like when you are like talking about French food, you have to be so on top of everything or they will literally kill you. The French people will kill you, right? But like
Yep.
but they don't carry the same respect for our cultures because they're like, well, no one gives a shit about Chinese food or whatever, but it's not like French food. French food is like fancy and important. Like that's like their like unspoken ideology that I think that they really have.
Yeah. That and it's a sad thing. Like, yeah, European cuisine, European cooking techniques are still seen as like prestigious and like
Elevated.
Superior.
Yeah.
the staple of how
Elevated.
you're supposed to cook. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then I don't know how that reputation came about. Maybe because like Chinese takeaways in the UK, I think in America too,
Yeah.
the Chinese takeout stuff, it's like cheap, it's easy, and kind of like low cost and quick.
Right.
So maybe that's how the reputation came about. I'm not sure. But there's so much that goes into it, you know, like a ramen dish. And yeah, sometimes in Thailand, if you eat a Thai green curry, yes, it is cheap. But like the amount of thought, the amount of time that goes into pounding the spices, you know, the home recipes, every recipe is slightly different because they don't share with each other. They don't write things down. It's all feeling. There's so much, to me, there's such art and, you know, craft and thought behind it. And Western chefs, you know, like someone like Jamie Oliver, he got big in the UK. His goal is to sell cookbooks, and the Asian population in the UK is just 1%. None of us here, you know, hopefully until now, none of us have like a voice on mainstream UK TV. So why wouldn't he do it, right? White people love green curry. White people want to buy cookbooks that make green curry easy to make at home.
Right.
They don't really care about correctness. They just want, can I get this ingredient at Tesco at the grocery store? You know? So that's the incentive for Jamie Oliver to write these kind of recipes. And I have to say, I know Jamie Oliver recently did like a TikTok live. So what he did was he got like a lot of food TikTokers to start the live with him.
Okay.
And I hear through the grapevine, because I have a couple of friends in the TikTok food world scene, right? They were told by Jamie's production team, please stay away from Asian food. If you're not Asian, please stay away from Asian food. So yeah, it's a little bit overcorrecting, but I like that correction. Is nice to see that happening. You know?
No, that's totally.
That's the Uncle Roger
We need
sphere of
that.
influence right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm striking
They need
fear
to
in
be.
his heart.
If they're making Asian food, they need to be fucking scared. I like that. Yeah. Okay, do it, Jamie Oliver, and I'll be here breathing down your neck in case you fuck it up. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I want him to do it. I'm running out of Jamie Oliver Asian videos to roast.
And also, I think you got to
Yeah.
lean in and make an Uncle Roger bangers and mash cookbook.
yeah, bangers and mash,
That's a
the
good
British
idea.
food. Mushed peas, beans for breakfast. I don't know.
Also,
it's really hard to fuck it up because it's already kind of bad. sorry, Brits. Sorry, British people. Please buy tickets to my show.
I have to say the food in the UK is good though. I personally like it. There are some great restaurants out there.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say.
There's some great restaurants, but like like quintessential. If you leave London, you know, if you're not in London, the British food you get, you know, is boy.
Speak on it, Nigel. We want to hear this.
Beans on toast.
It's just the mushed beans. Beans on
Yeah,
toast. They have to really. They have to stop.
I know, and the beans come from a can. You know, it's some Heinz.
and as
The
an
bacon's
American,
soggy and thick. You know, American bacon is like next level. It's so good, man. When I leave America, the thing I miss most is bacon and LaCroix. You know,
Ooh.
I'm very basic.
Wonderful
But everything in UK. If you leave London, it's like, whew, boy.
Yeah. And as an American who has spent almost zero time in the UK, I have it on authority to say that UK food is bad. and I'm saying it
Yeah.
loud
Tell them, Brian.
and with conviction.
I love how they tried to like tell you something. I love how they were trying to make Chinese food. That's like hilarious, actually. Just that.
Yeah. It's just like the fried rice thing, and you think fried rice is such a simple dish. We just whack shit
easy.
in a wok, right? Or a pan if you don't have a wok. But then Jamie Oliver puts water in the middle of cooking, and then he puts jam.
I saw that.
It's like he's going out of his way to
Girl.
fuck it up. It's like, bro, that's eggs and rice, man, and soy sauce. That's good. That's
Come on,
good.
man. Why? Why is he doing that?
Um,
Trying to
Well-
make
Because
that.
people like healthy food, Western people like healthy food, so he puts tofu. It looks healthy,
help me.
jam.
olive oil.
Jam is just going rogue there. I don't know what the fuck he's doing with that.
Yeah.
Well, Nigel, thanks for indulging our questions thus
Of
far.
course.
But we want to move into our next stage of our podcast, a little lightning round, get to know you on a little deeper level. Nigel, what is something you're loving right now?
What am I loving right now? Being able to do the things I like and then have people watch it, because a lot of people ask me, like, do you ever feel like trapped by this Uncle Roger character? And I always say, as a creative a person pursuing something creative, you're never guaranteed a break, right? So to have anything that catches any
Yeah.
fire, I'm like, oh, thanks fuck. So when people, sometimes I get recognized on the street and people take photos, and then my friends will be like, do you ever get annoyed? And I'm like, no, I'm just more relieved, if anything. I'm like, oh, thank fuck. There's someone out there who likes the stuff I put out. So that's a nice thing, I guess. Is that good enough as an answer?
I love that.
That's great.
That's a
Yeah.
perfect answer. Young man, I think we should
No,
do that.
that's
We always talk
a
about
great
how
way to look at it.
whenever we're recognized for our podcast, it makes us want to throw up.
What?
I just want to kill
It's-
myself. Yeah. It's embarrassing. I
Privilege.
don't
Why?
know.
Why? I love it,
I don't
you know?
know.
I got a lot.
And I feel bad.
Maybe you have the American celebrity attitude. That's another thing. Ugh, my fans are beneath me.
No, I
Ugh.
mean, no. I mean, like, I feel bad that I'm getting complimented. Like, I feel like I don't deserve it. And then I feel like it makes me feel shy. Not like, no, not at all. I will never be that American. Like, I feel like, oh, like I don't deserve your respect or something. And then I feel bad because I feel like I'm acting all shy when people come up to me, and then they're reading that as me being like fucking snobby. Do you know what I mean? Where I'm like, thank you, but they're probably like, like, you know what I mean? It's complicated. It's
Well,
complicated.
I love that response, Nigel. Conversely, what is something you're hating right now?
Hating. Is that the same question as the ashamed thing that you paywall, or is this something different?
Totally
This is different.
baby.
Yeah,
Oh, different.
Just something
Oh,
you
shit.
don't like.
What-
No
something I
pressure.
don't
It can
like.
be
Yeah.
very, it could be very
Put on your
basic. It
Karen-
could
put
be
on your Karen
mushy
wig.
fried rice.
Just be as messy as you want.
I'm traveling a lot for my tour right now, right? And the tricky thing is I don't know how to pack for cities with really different weather conditions. You
Yeah.
know, I'm here, Philly, then Chicago, Philly, then New York. Okay, that's coldish. And then Dallas and Houston. So now I gotta pack like what do they wear there? Shorts, and
I don't know.
t-shirts. I've never been, and
MAGA
I
hats.
think touring is MAGA. I actually wanted to make like a red cap that says "Make MSG Great Again." But I
Nice.
think it's a bit too late now. He's not even in the office anymore. I feel like touring. It's been a dream of mine. It's been a goal of mine to do a kind of big tour like this. But it gets
Yeah.
kind of lonely sometimes. You're in a new city. You don't know anyone. And in Chicago, I have friends, but I worry like Dallas. I don't know anyone. Houston, I don't know anyone. And so I wonder what it's gonna be like. And I would like to be able to see the city a bit, but because of the tour schedule, and I still have to work and write, right? So I won't get to see the city as much. So I wish touring were more glamorous. I wish touring was how I envisioned it to be instead of the reality.
Yeah.
And the reality is just you spend 10 hours in your hotel room waiting for
Yeah.
the call time.
Then green room.
Oh wait. Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say they have really good Asian food in Chicago.
Yeah, there
Definitely.
is. There's
I'm
like
sure that you know
Chinatown,
that.
and then there's Argyle, which is like Vietnamese. So
Yeah.
I think I might do some pho for dinner tonight. Yeah.
Nice.
Good, just reminded me. Thank you. But New York too, man. I'm really
Yeah,
pumped
yeah.
for New York. I know a couple of chef friends there. Hopefully they'll bring me around and show me some good food.
That's
Ooh,
exciting.
that's
Yeah,
super exciting.
I know. Maybe I should try to meet up with the Fong Bros. You guys know them?
Oh, we
they
did
make
meet them
YouTube
once.
videos.
Yeah, we met them.
Okay.
Yeah.
They seem to
Yeah,
know
yeah.
a lot about Asian food, so I might drop them a message to see what they recommend.
Oh,
my God!
well,
don't.
if you're looking.
Once I saw one. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go on, Youngmi.
I was just gonna say I didn't match with them, but once I saw one of them on like a dating app, we didn't match. But I just saw them.
But you just swipe right or
No, I was like no. But I just
Why?
wanted to say that.
What do you have
Oh,
against
no.
YouTubers, young me? You know.
Does that
Well,
bleed?
I just felt like weird. What?
If and when, I don't know what your relationship status is, Nigel, but if you are on
Single.
the apps, if you're on
Yeah.
the apps,
I'm
do people
not
recognize you from Uncle Roger?
Yeah, they do, and I got banned from Hinge because of that. I'm not on any apps now.
What?
Yeah, they
You got
because
banned from
Hinge,
Hinge?
you can't really get verified. So Hinge was thinking I'm impersonating Uncle Roger,
Oh,
the YouTube,
shit,
you know,
Wow.
YouTube guy, because people reported the profile. They couldn't believe it was me on there. So now I'm not on the apps,
My.
and I need to get back on there because the
Wow.
people you meet, not from the apps, are oof boy. At least with the apps, there are some guardrails, and like you can see the age and what they do, and
Right.
what they answer. But sometimes you meet people like from shows and stuff. It's
Oh,
Oh,
no,
boy.
yikes.
it's even scarier, man.
You've
Oh,
been
gosh.
on dates with people that you met at your shows?
Yeah, some cities, they
Wow.
just come. I do a meet and greet if the venue is like a decent size, small enough to do meet and greets after. I'll do a meet and greet for free. They can take photos, and sometimes they'll be like, "Yeah, you want to come
Nice.
get a drink after?" I'm like, "Okay, nothing to
Yeah,
do."
sure.
And then sometimes it's nice and fun, and sometimes it's just friends, just having a drink with a
Right.
group of people.
Yeah.
But sometimes it becomes more like a hookup situation, and you don't know their background, and sometimes it'll be a little bit insane, Not everybody. I know there's
Oh.
like the cliche girls
So-
are crazy, but they're not all crazy, and men are crazy too,
Right.
But sometimes it can be just
Yeah.
a bit much and start texting you every day, and the problem is too, it's very easy to find out where I will be, So that's something I worry
Yeah.
about. If someone's really intent on like hunting me down,
Yeah.
they can. They just search my name, tour, and then okay, he's
Mm.
gonna be here, this venue at this time. So
Right.
that's something I worry about. And
I
then
think
if
that's
if they know
yeah.
where I live, they could give it out to the
Mhm.
press, and then I
Totally.
might have to
Oh.
move. So
I mean, this,
boy,
this
so
is a conversation that I see on TikTok more as like this idea of parasocial relationships, and
Mm-hmm.
what does
Yeah.
that mean? Parasocial.
it's like it's like a unidirectional. So people
Yeah.
have consumed your content, they fill in the gaps and feel like they really know you, but
Mhm.
Like
you
they're your friend.
it doesn't go. It's
but
not
you don't know
reciprocated.
them.
Like you don't know them, and so like
It's a
this,
one-way relationship.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what's the solution here, guys? You're in a similar position, What's the solution
Well, I was gonna say that I think not that everyone that does this is weird, but like I think somebody that goes to a show and tries to romantically pursue the performer, that is a weird approach and a weird dynamic. And I think because of that, the strangeness of that dynamic, if you
Mhm.
do end up interacting with that person, it's gonna be a little weird. It's almost like not all the time, but most of the time when people reach out to us to be a guest on the podcast, most of them are like kind of weird. Not all
Well,
the time, but
That's
it's
what I
just
did, though. That's
because-
exactly
because
what I
well, no, but like no, not you, but just that. But I mean, okay, but let's be honest here. Like you are famous. Do you know what I mean? Like obvious, you are an established
and we
comedian,
are
but it's like
clout
sometimes
chasers.
it's like but like sometimes it'll just be like a random, like the concept of a random person going to a platform being like, put me on as a guest, and I'm like, who are you? Like that is just like do you know what I mean? Like it's kind
Yeah.
of like
Yeah.
a weird thing to do. So
Yeah.
like it's a
Right.
weird thing to go to a comedy show and try to like hook up with a comedian. I don't know. Not really, I guess that's societally acceptable, but I don't know. For me, that would be a red
like
flag.
it's not it's not uncommon, but I see your point, young me. It just does
Mhm.
invite more risk because there's like the knowledge base isn't the same, and I don't know,
Yeah.
Nigel. I met my girlfriend on Hinge, so I guess my advice to you is you gotta write Hinge
Dang.
and sort it out with
Hinge.
them.
Oh,
Email,
God.
yeah. I bet you can email them and tell
It's like,
them.
Let me
because-
back in.
Yeah.
But I will say,
Can I add something too?
Please, please.
Sometimes I used to meet people sometimes I get the occasional DM slide, right? And I would
Yeah.
say,
Mm-hmm.
when I was at like 20,000, 50,000 followers on Instagram, sure, it's this guy does comedy and he sort of has a small following.
Sure.
The DM slides I got when I was at 20K and the DM slides I got now, the people I go out with, like, they're a bit more insane now. And I was thinking to myself, like, if someone's like willingly DM someone with like 1 point something million, 1 million followers, that's a little more, I don't know, the type of people who would do that.
But you got to shoot
versus
your shot.
Kanye level.
You got to shoot your shot too. You got to shoot
I
your
know,
shot
so
too.
I'll just stay alone, man. I'll just stay alone for the time being.
No. Well, I will
it's
say
easier,
though,
you know.
for the record, our listeners,
Mhm.
our listeners are the best. They are certified,
They're
cool.
not insane. They're cool.
Okay.
And
If
We'll
you
vouch
DM
for
me
them.
and I see that you follow Feeling Asian podcast, I'll entertain that. I
wow.
guess.
So so you're saying the
You're
DM,
the-
Nigel,
yes.
the DMs are open for Feeling Asian listeners.
Oh.
Nice. Yes.
Well, this leads us to our next question because we're cooking here. We're cooking with fire. It's getting juicy. Our next question: if you want to hear what Nigel is ashamed of, you're gonna have to subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/feelingasian. And let's get juicy here, Nigel. What is something you're ashamed of? Woo! Wow, Nigel. That's damn. You got heavy. You got very real. A lot of shame.
Oh,
Subscribe
really?
to
You
the
told me to get
Patreon.
real, man. That's
You
why
got
you,
real.
That's why you have the
You
No, we
delivered.
loved it. We love
You
it.
loved it. You
love
delivered.
it.
Well, you know, if you're
You
not
gave them
subscribed
their
to the
money's worth.
Patreon-
Yeah. I can't post this anywhere else, you know. It's Uncle Roger video and suddenly, hey guys, so I fucked up in my life. Nobody would click that terrible YouTube video.
Well, you know, this has been such a wonderful conversation, and I've had a lot of fun having you on this podcast thus far, but unfortunately, it looks like we're nearing the end. And before we let you go, Nigel, we like to ask all of our guests this one last question, and that is, what is something that you're proud of?
I'm proud of my relationship with my family. You know, of course, I'm proud of the career as well. But I think it's a less interesting answer. I think we've lived apart now. I've left Malaysia now since 2010, so it's been 12 years now. You know, but every time I go back home, there's still, it's so joyful and nice to see all of them. And sometimes families, especially, like I know a lot of my Asian friends with big family problems and money problems, and they have quarrels and fights in their families. But I'm glad I don't have that. I had a really good childhood growing up. You know, my parents weren't rich, but I know they tried their best, and you know they hit me and stuff. But I know they tried their best, and I could see the intention and the love behind every smack. So I'm glad that
Yes.
when I go to therapy, I've gone to therapy before. And it's never them. I never blame them because I know they tried their best, and I'm who I am today because of the effort and the sacrifices they made.
Right.
So and now I'm just trying my best to give them as good a life as I can. You know, like the typical immigrant. I send money back home every month.
Wow.
Just try to help them out. You know.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I still have that good relationship and a good family connections. You know, it's a nice thing to have every time I go home.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
Do you have a
that's
lot
great.
of family in Malaysia still?
Everyone's back there except my brother who's in Japan. Yeah, I have no
wow.
family in the UK, no family in the US.
Wow.
So everybody's back in
Wow.
Malaysia.
That must be hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, you're chasing this dream, and if you want to do stand up, any sort of entertainment, and you speak English, you know, you have to be in the Western world, I think,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
Australia. You know, but who wants to go to Australia?
Don't even get me started.
Ron-
Don't even get
Ronnie
me started
is
on
very vocal
Australia.
about his disdain for Australia.
Yeah. That's why he lives in New York now.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the scene.
New York, the place that we're getting punched and stabbed. He's like, this is way better than Australia.
Is it really that bad? How bad is it?
No,
Like, do
it's
you
not that
fear
bad.
when you walk out? No, right?
I mean,
are you
I
scared?
don't
Are you
know
scared?
because, like, I mean, we've seen shit happen all the time.
Yeah.
Brian and I have experienced things personally, but like, also you got punched in
Yeah.
the face for being Asian, allegedly.
Yeah.
So who knows? You know,
It's just the
and,
thing,
and I'm
it's
always
like-
stuck in that place too. Like, is it
Yeah.
because I'm Asian or is this something else? So who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, on that note.
On that note, I told you we had a lot in
Thank you.
common, Brian.
Oh gosh. Well, we definitely gotta hang out and get a drink when you're in New York soon. Nigel, thank you for doing the podcast, and for our listeners
Thank
out
you.
there, where can they find you and your work online?
On All my social media handles is Mr. Nigel Ng, MrNigelNG, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, everything. I make the Uncle Roger videos, so you can search Uncle Roger on YouTube. I also have my own podcast. It's called Hiya. It's Uncle Roger's catchphrase, but it's me on the pod. HAIYAA, Hiya podcast, which is just me and my producer riffing and talking about my life and trying to make it funny. So check me out on all those platforms.
I love it. And what about you, Young Me?
You can find me at YM Mayor, TikTok, Young Me Mayor. What about you, Brian?
You guys can find me on socials at It's Brian Park, and follow our podcast on socials at Feeling Asian Podcast, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, wherever you get your podcasts. And yeah, be sure to like and subscribe and check us out on Patreon. And yeah, that's it, everyone. See you next week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.